MBA course is the 2 years of postgraduate MBA course which you are going to do. This is probably the last step on your educational ladder, and then you will get into the first step of your corporate career, or if you want to do something on your own as an entrepreneur, that will be the first step. So why is it that today the management course has become so popular, or it has become the necessity for building a good career? So I have tried to jot down few of the reasons why someone wants to join an MBA. Basically, to develop one's management skills. So in the course of your 2 years, you would learn different kinds of management skills, different say subjects and all that, which will develop you to become a professional who is ready to take up a managerial role. The second one is obvious, which is basically we want to earn good salary. We want better job opportunities, because MBA would give us some kind of an edge over others to have better job prospects. Some of the students also would like to start something on their own. They can start their own company as an entrepreneur. International opportunities are better available when you have done an MBA. And this also gives you an opportunity to network with the rest of the world in terms of your professional journey. So you would meet a lot of different kind of other professionals in the course, and then you can network and you can know people and pursue your future. MBA course is in the today's context. MBA course is also considered as a recognition of your credentials. Like if you are an MBA, somebody will say that, okay, this person must be good. He is an MBA, so he is qualified. And lastly, we want to do a management course because we want to develop ourselves personally. So it is for our own personal development goal, right? So then the question comes, once we have done our MBA, we have decided to join an MBA course, then what is next? How am I going to shape my future after I complete these 2 years of management course? So let's see some of this. See, all of us would have, I'm sure some of you would have heard about these three particular things: knowledge, skills, and attitude. So anywhere, whether you are in a corporate world or you are doing your own business, your own company, you are an entrepreneur, you are a professional, you are a self-employed professional, whatever it is. These are the crux of the success of a professional. I mean, I would request all the students to keep these three things in mind, which will be useful to you for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life's journey, both personal as well as professional journey. So these are the three most important things which are really critical for becoming or starting our journey as a leader. First one is the knowledge, second one is the skills, and the third one is our attitude. So let's look at it one by one, understand a little bit more as to what each one of these means, and then we will take it forward. So what is knowledge? Knowledge is basically your theoretical inputs. I mean, we gather information, theoretical information, through classroom teachings or trainings. We read books, we read journals, we get information from the internet, and we also get information by talking to other people. So these are, by all these sources, we enhance our knowledge. We network with people, we do project assignments, you will do your summer internship program. So any source of collecting information is actually enhancing your knowledge. So knowledge is what which remains in your mind. Then comes your skills. Skills are basically you develop any kind of skills by way of your experience. So experience means by doing something repetitively. Let's say if you have, let me give an example. Suppose you have got your driving license, You went to RTO office, you gave the test, you got your license today. So that doesn't mean that you have become an expert driver just by getting your driving license. You will gain the skills only when you will start driving your car or bike over a period of next 1, 2, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So similarly, anything you do, you become experienced, you become skilled by doing the same thing repetitively on a regular basis. So we gain experience, we gain skills by way of doing something repetitively. Then comes the third part, which is our attitude. So if you see the difference between these three, knowledge, skills, and attitude, knowledge and skills are basically external. I mean, by way of reading, by way of doing something, you gain that experience. But when it comes to attitude, attitude is completely internal. So our own motivation, our commitment, our discipline approach, our abilities to do different kind of things, the self-regard, how much we respect our own selves, what kind of empathy we show in different emotional situations. These are all internal. This you cannot say show it externally. So all these traits or all these attributes will get reflected through your behavior. So attitude is basically displayed through your behavior. You can't see anybody's attitude, but you will be able to experience someone's attitude only through his or her behavior in a particular context. So these three things are extremely important as far as in the entire course of our life journey, whether we are at home, we are outside, whether we are studying, whether we are working somewhere. These three things become most critical. Now coming to the point that if you want to become an effective leader, if you want to develop yourself as an effective leader, then one has to have the right combination of all these three things: the knowledge, skills, and attitude, all these three things together. So for example, if you are highly qualified, you have very good knowledge, but if you do not have skills or the right kind of attitude, you will not be able to succeed in life. Or if you simply have the skills or only attitude, if you do not have the knowledge, you are not probably you will not be in a position to develop yourself as an effective leader. So right combination of knowledge, skills, and attitude will be extremely important for anyone to succeed in any kind of leadership situation, right? Now, if we focus, now I'm focusing on the key requirements for shaping yourself as future leaders. So when we talk about knowledge, skills, and attitude, there are two parts. One is your leadership competencies, which is basically your generic competencies. The other one is your domain competencies, which are functional competency. So for example, say in the corporate world, we call it what and how. So basically, what is your functional area? How is your generic behavioral area? So if we take an example, say if someone is a topper in MBA, so his domain competencies in terms of knowledge he has gained through the study of 2 years. He will gain the experience by working somewhere, but his generic competencies, his attitude, his commitment, his discipline will be completely internal to him. So if he has to succeed, then he has to focus on both functional as well as generic leadership competencies. For example, if you say specialize in HR or finance or marketing, that doesn't mean that you will become a good leader. You will have to combine that with your generic leadership competencies to be able to be more successful in future. Because when you grow in the organization, you will have to manage people, you will have to manage different kind of situations, you will have to manage complexities. So you will need more of generic leadership competencies than your own functional competency. So to keep in mind, if you want to succeed as a leader, if you want to grow in your corporate ladder, you will have to develop yourself both in the functional as well as generic leadership competencies. So functional leadership is basically to enhance your knowledge base, experience the right skills, and gain mastery in your domain. So if you are a marketing MBA, or if you want to do a specialization in finance or HR or strategy or anything, if you want to develop your functional leadership skills, you will have to enhance your knowledge in that particular area. You'll have to get the right kind of experience in that area, and then you become a master in that particular domain. The second part is on the generic leadership competencies. You all can see a picture on the left side in the blue. This is basically an iceberg. We all know what is an iceberg. So an iceberg, if you think about an iceberg, basically, say if you see the upper part, which is above the water line, that is visible to our eyes. But the majority part, which is below the water line, that is not visible. So if I have to give that analogy, the part which is visible, which is typically in an iceberg, 2/7 of the iceberg is visible to our eyes, and 5 parts out of 7 is not visible, which is below the water line. So in the context of say the iceberg model, the knowledge and skills are which are visible. So our knowledge and skills constitute only the 2/7 part of our entire personality, whereas majority of our personality, which is 5/7 part, which is not visible, is basically our generic competencies. So this iceberg model was developed by a psychologist by name Dr. David McClelland. So he says that these are competencies. So in the iceberg, the knowledge and skills represent the visible part, whereas the unvisible or invisible part, which are below the waterline, they are our personal characteristics, our self-confidence, initiative, empathy, our achievement orientation. They represent the larger portion. So why I'm trying to show this here is when you grow higher and higher in your career, you will need to develop more of your generic competencies, which is below the waterline in this iceberg model. So this will have more weightage, this will have more impact on your effectiveness as a leader, because your functional knowledge and skill will become less and less important, and your generic skills will be more and more important when you grow in the organization, right? Now, typically, if you look the leadership, we see leaders all around us. I mean, there are leaders who are leading the organization. There are leaders who are leading the countries. There are leaders who are leading their own companies. So what we see about, let's take, for example, the Prime Minister. What we see about the leadership of the Prime Minister is what is external to it. But what we do not see, that what kind of efforts that would have gone for him to become such kind of a leader. So you'll have to really think as to what all would have gone, over the last several years, so that the person has reached to the level of prime ministership. And that is where the moment you want to say experience this, then this becomes the starting point of your leadership journey. So first you need to do that, you need to understand that if I want to become a leader in the next 10, 15, 20 years time, how should I invest in myself from today, right? So, but many a times we confuse that people become leaders by reaching higher position. Say someone has become general manager, vice president, president, directors. So we think someone who has reached that level is a leader, which is not true. That is the leadership role which the person is assuming, but the actual leadership is basically as to what that person holds inside within himself, so that he or she has reached to that leadership level. So whatever is, no matter wherever you are in your career, you need to understand how to lead yourself better. For example, even if, say, let's take a very small example, say in your college cafeteria, even if the person who is, say, serving tea, coffee in your cafeteria, that person also has an opportunity to show his leadership ability. It is not necessary that a leader has to be always at the senior level position. The leadership can be experienced, can be displayed, can be practiced at any level in our journey. So the first step, if you want to become a good leader, then the first thing is you should know how to lead yourself better. So I will talk to you about some of the personal leadership. So if you want to develop yourself as a leader, then you have to develop your own personal leadership abilities. What does that mean? The first point is you have to take charge of your own growth and development to become the best possible version of yourself. You cannot put the blame on anybody that, okay, I could not join an MBA because my father didn't support me. Or one cannot say that I could not do that, I wanted to do that, I could not do that because of this reason. That is not correct. You have to take charge of your own growth and development. You are responsible for your own growth and development, and you are accountable for that. So for that, you need to combine the self-awareness with your emotional intelligence and personal accountability. So you have to be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. You have to be emotionally intelligent. You have to know how to respond to an emotional situation, and you have to take personal accountability. If you have done something right, you have to take personal accountability for that. You have done something wrong, you have to take personal accountability of that. Then the third point on personal leadership is it involves how quickly we adapt to the changes and working more congruently with your own purpose. I mean, all of us know that the world is changing in a very, very rapid way. So each one of us will have to quickly adapt to the change which is happening around us, and we want to work towards achieving our own purpose. And the last point is how can we master the personal leadership by developing few skills. So I would like to share with you 5 skills which are very, very critical for developing yourself as a personal leader. The first one is manage your own self. I mean, if we are talking about the corporate space, if you are working in a company, there are hundreds, thousands of people will be working in that organization. So all the organizations are in a collaborative space. So as an employee, you are supposed to work with other people to complete the task and meet your goals together. So you cannot do anything on your own. You have to work as a team. So collaboration is very, very critical as far as the corporate, when you want to manage yourself. And it is not easy. When you are working in a team where there are 15, 20 people, there will always be scope for disagreement, conflicts, debates, fights, so many things. So how do you respond to this kind of situation, and how do you deal with the challenging situation? That actually shows your leadership abilities. For example, suppose how do you manage your own emotion when someone gives a negative feedback about you? Like say somebody, if someone is criticizing me or someone is saying me that Ajay, I don't like your this quality. So do I take it as a positive feedback, and how do I respond to it? Do I start fighting with the other person? So that is how, I mean, if you are able to manage your own self better, you'll be able to manage any kind of situation in future which will come on your way. This is the first point of managing, becoming personal leader. The second point is leading your own self. First one was managing, then second one was how can you lead your own self. So if you want to become effective as a professional, you need to take charge of your own personal growth. We talked about it. So what does it mean? It means that you have to come out of your comfort zone, and you have to come out of your comfort zone by setting very, very high standards for yourself, stretched goals, and deliberately taking responsibility for your own action and achieving your goals by overcoming fears and managing failures intelligently. So you have to come out of your comfort zone. You have to take challenges. You'll have to take difficult tasks, You will have to take responsibilities which are extremely difficult to achieve. Then only you'll be able to overcome your fears, overcome your failures, and you should know how to manage your success and failure well. If you get overwhelmed by your success today, then tomorrow you might face challenges. If you get completely bogged down by your failure today, then you may not achieve success tomorrow. So you should be able to know how to manage your own success and failure, right? So in a corporate situation, if you are not able to deliver a particular task on time, what do? You have to learn from that failure, that what happened so that I could not achieve that task. So how can I do it better in future? So you should be able to handle that better. The third point is how to adapt and embrace the changes. As I told you sometimes back, that the world is changing extremely fast. I mean, say today, whatever situation we are in, after 3 months or after 6 months, you'll find yourself in a very different situation. So in this fast changing world, how quickly we are able to adapt and how quickly we are able to embrace the change, that will make us able to develop as a leader. So what does it mean? It means the ability to adapt is more critical today because the world is changing in a very rapid pace, and success for individuals lie in constantly reinventing themselves. So you can't remain where you are today. You'll have to constantly change yourself. You have to constantly reinvent your own self, your own abilities, your own skills, so that you are able to meet the challenges of the changing environment. In the process, you might face challenges, you might face setbacks, you might be disappointed, but you should be quick to be able to come back to your come back on track. You need to believe that you have the ability to learn new skills and can bounce back from difficult situations. So unless you have the self-belief that yes, I will be able to do it, I have the ability to do it, then only you'll be able to do it. The moment you think that no, this is not something I can do, then you will never be able to do that. So you should have that belief of being able to do any kind of task or any kind of challenges. When you are beginning your career, then it is always better to have some kind of a mentor or advisor or your body coaches who can help you find solution when you are facing challenges. Like say typically it happens, if we are facing some problem, we know that whom do we reach out to first? We reach out to our best friend. So mentors, advisors, coaches, they are like your guide who will able to give you solution when you are facing a particular challenge. Then the most important part is you should have the ability to receive the feedback and use that feedback for your own development. If your seniors or if your parents, if your elders, if they are giving some kind of a feedback, you should be receptive to that feedback, and so that you can deal with situations better, right? Coming to the next point number 4 is basically practice excellence. So if you want to become a good leader, you have to practice the excellence. Let's take, for example, let's take the IPL cricket example. Today, I mean, over the last few years, we are seeing extremely spectacular catches which are being taken on the boundary line. I mean, probably 10 years back, we could not have thought about this kind of catches the players can take. So why is it happening? It is not that somebody is just taking the catch on the boundary line, which is extremely difficult. They are practicing. They are practicing again and again and again, so that they are visualizing what kind of situation will come, and they are practicing accordingly. So they are practicing to become excellent in whatever they are doing. So being top of the line is not just something you achieve, it is a way of being. I mean, you will achieve it by doing it repetitively, by practicing it, practicing it properly. So here you have to set a very high standard of output as an employee and of behavior as a person. So you'll have to combine the highest standard of your functional excellence as well as generic excellence both, then only you can practice excellence in the corporate. The second point is shoddy work or lack of adherence to procedures and timelines immediately translates to a lack of commitment or interest. Sometimes what happens, we say that chalo theek hai, whatever we have done, that is the right way we have done. So we tend to compromise on the quality as well as output. So if you are happy easily on any outcome, then there is a possibility of say compromising on the quality and delivery. So you'll have to constantly practice adherence to the procedure, to the timelines, so that you'll be able to achieve excellence in whatever you do. Those who consistently deliver their best build high credibility and a reputation for being reliable, which is critical for establishing trust in today's workplace. Very simple. Say, this is basically about your own credibility. Credibility is the simple way of understanding what is credibility is we do what we say. Let's take, for example, Indigo Airlines. A couple of years back, say, why everybody wanted to travel with Indigo Airlines? Because if you are traveling by Indigo, you know that you'll be able to land on time, so that you'll be able to go for your official meeting on time. But if you are using any other airlines, you are not sure whether it will be delayed by half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, we never know. So that is credibility and reliability. So you as a professional, you will have to build your own personal credibility and reliability with the organization so that they will trust on you, right? The last point, the point number 5 on personal leadership is find your own purpose. Ask that question to yourself that what is the purpose of, what are the goals of my life? What is the purpose of my doing a management course, and what am I going to do? What I want to do in my career? Ask that question and be prepared for that purpose of your life. So as part of any job, you will undertake tasks that seem meaningless and boring. Sometimes it happens. I'll give an example. Say a couple of years back in my own group, so we had a very young MBA, fresh from college, in the corporate communication team. And after joining, within 15 days of joining, she told that, no, I'm an MBA, I want to sit in a cabin. I can't sit outside. So I've done my MBA, so I should have the flexibility of working from home. As long as I do my work, whether I come to office or I want to do work at home, that is up to me. So this shows the wrong attitude of the individual. So sometimes what happens, even the smallest of work, like suppose if your manager has said that, okay, let's he or she gives an assignment to you, that take a photocopy of this document. So if you say that, no, I am an MBA, I can't take photocopy, it is a peon's job. So sometimes some work might seem very, very meaningless and boring to you, but you should look at the opportunity to learn even in the smallest of work you are supposed to do. Sometimes you will get to do some work which make you feel productive, satisfied, and motivated. So at the same time, there is some work which you would like, you know that these are productive, satisfied, and motivated. So in your work life, you will get all kind of work to do. So you should never think that this is a boring work, I want to do something better. Everybody wants to do strategy. Nobody wants to do operations. But unless you do operations, you will not be able to learn strategy. So the third point is to feel more of the latter. Start defining your purpose and making it an anchor that gives meaning to your work. So understand your purpose, understand your goal. Then only you'll be able to start liking what you do. And the final point, what I want to share with you is that we all want to lead and go ahead of others. As a professional, as an individual, we always think that I should be better than the other person. But to be truly able to lead others, you have to build the habit of leading yourself first. So if you want other person to be disciplined, you have to first be disciplined, then being able to ask anybody to be disciplined. For example, I'll give a very simple example. Suppose the office timing is 9:30 a.m. in the morning. So if you have 5 people working in your team, and they are coming at 9:45 or 10 o'clock, you will be able to tell them to come on time provided you come to office before 9:30 or at 9:30. Say if you are working to office at 10 o'clock, you can't tell your team members that you should all come to office at 9:30. So very important thing, the last point is, it always, if you want to become a good leader, if you want to become an effective leader, then start with your own self. Look at your own self, don't look at other people. Then only you'll be able to build yourself to be a good personal leader, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in your career, in your future life, and wherever you are, you will succeed. You will definitely achieve success. Success. That's all from my side. In the interest of time, I don't want to hold you up much. I'll be happy to take any question you would like me to answer.
Sir, thank you so much. It was really a nice deliberation. And to be a good leader, as you said, that one needs to have the regulation, self-regulation, self-identity, and self-insight. Then only you can really speculate what kind of talent you have and how you can capitalize it so that you
Absolutely.
can lead a team. So it was really a very good deliberation. There are few questions are there from the students.
Sure.
One student, she has asked how to deal with group members who challenge our leadership.
Okay. See, as I mentioned during my talks, you will always face this kind of situation in your life, not only in corporate. You will have today, for example, if I have a grown-up adolescent or grown-up kid at home, they keep challenging the parents, which was not there maybe probably 15, 20 years back. Today, the children also challenge the parents. uh, in the workplace, you will always be challenged by your team members. But my simple practice is that first, very important thing in this to deal with is to listen. First, you have to listen to the perspective of other person. Why is that your team member is challenging you? So first, listen to him or her, then analyze, and if you communicate or if you have a discussion with him or her giving different perspective, probably you'll be able to convince that person whether he is right or wrong. And the moment you get into an argumentative mode, then you will not be able to reach to any kind of solution. So listening skill is one of another very important skill for the professionals. If you do not develop the habit of listening to others, probably it will be a big challenge for anyone in the corporate world. So listen to the other person, analyze what are the point of view that person is coming from, share your own perspective, own thoughts, and try to convince. And at the end of it, you should come to a win-win situation. That is what is empathy. I mean, you have to come to a win-win situation. You should not just brush aside the person that you are wrong or I am right. It is not that. Okay, let's hear your viewpoint. Then let's come to a solution. I'm sure, you'll be able to handle 90% or more than 90% of such kind of situation when it comes.
Thank you, sir. And there is another question from Monisha Panda. She
Sure.
has asked, what are the important values the leader should demonstrate? You have
Okay.
already shared everything.
Okay, I will. I'll take a couple of minutes to answer this question because this is a very, very critical question. See, if we talk about values, values are nothing but the guiding principles for us. So, for example, let's say we as individual, all of us have our own set of values, and these values, where does it come from? It comes from say our family. What is the family background of ours. So we have imbibed certain values. Let me give an example. Let's say in our homes, all of us have been taught right from our birth that if you meet your grandfather, your elders, or anybody, you have to touch their feet. This is a value of respect which has been taught to all of us. But if you go to Western side, they will just shake hand. Even parents also sometimes they will call by name. So values, we have learned values from our parents, our family members, our society, our educational institution. For example, suppose if someone has studied in a Catholic school, the value systems which are taught in a Catholic school will be very different from another school, which is uh, which could be in other place. So, educational institution is another source of learning values, and then other part is we also learn the values through our environment, with people with whom we interact with, we mix up with, the geographical area. So many sources are there. So coming to the question, what are the values the leaders are supposed to learn? There are two types of values. One is your own personal values, and second one is the organizational values. So if there are some times where you are practicing some personal value, but the organization, it is not matching with the organizational values. So you'll have to quickly adapt to that. So you have to strike a balance between your own value system and the organizational value system. Say, for example, if let's say, let me give you an example of the Tata Group. The Tata Group values are humility, trust, respect for people, care for people. So these are the values of Tata Group, and it is always the value is that the Tata Group believes that you cannot bribe even a single rupee to anybody to get a business or get any kind of gratification from anybody. At the same time, all the employees of Tata Group, they have to practice the value that they will not receive any kind of illegal gratification from anywhere. So this is the values of the Tata Group. But if you go to another company, the company might have a different set of value that, okay, if I have to get some work done, even if I have to pay some bribe, it is okay to give. So different companies practice different sets of values. So you as a leader, you will have to understand what are the best ways of adhering to the value system which is prescribed by your organization, and how do you align your personal value with the organizational value, and then take it forward. So typically, respect, humility, trust, credibility, risk taking, these are some of the values the leaders practice most of the time.
There is another question from Ankit Prasad. He is asking, how do we monitor the performance of the people that one has to lead?
Okay, so yeah, good question. I think, Ankit, once you start your career, you will get to understand in more details. But let me share with you how the performance is managed in the organization. So every organization follows a system called performance management system. So basically, when an employee joins, how he or she is performing in the organization. So there are two parts in that. One is your target, that is your performance. The other one is your potential. So if, let me give an example. If you are a sales executive in an organization, and if your target is to sell 100 units of product, if you have sold 100 units of product, you have achieved your target. But the second part is your potential, which we talked about, generic competencies. So the second part, the companies evaluate based on what are your abilities to be able to lead in future? Let's say if there are two sales executives and there is only one position of a sales manager, and you will have to choose to promote one person. Both of them have performed equally well. So how will you choose one of them to become manager? There, the personal competencies, the generic competencies, ability, how is your interpersonal relationship with other people, what is your commitment level, uh, what is your credibility, what kind of decision making abilities you have. These are some of the generic competencies which are assessed to decide who will move up in the ladder in the organization. So that is the reason in the beginning I told that just by way of doing your MBA in finance, HR, or marketing will not make you as a leader. You will have to develop your personal leadership capabilities to be able to succeed in the organizational hierarchy.
Thank you, sir. There is a very unique question and very
Sure.
interesting one. What are the qualities a leader should possess of our generation?
Yes. See, let me give answer from my own experience, because the today's generation, which is basically Generation Z, those who are born after 1995, 96, those who have been born in the internet generation. So it is very different from the other generation. So I will tell the positive side and negative side both. The positive side is that the today's generation is very well informed. They are very clear about what they want to do, what they do not want to do. They are of very high energy level. They have the ability to work multiple things. I mean, if I see my son at home, he will be listening to music and he will be doing his studies and all that. Sometimes he asks me, how are you able to manage these things? Because when I have to listen to music, I can only listen to music. I can't study. So the generation, today's generation, can do multiple things at a time. Uh, they they like more freedom, and they are very well informed because there are various sources of getting information. Today, anything you want, you can Google and get it. I mean, which was not there 20 years back. So, but the other side, if I look at the negative side, is that the today's generation is, they get uh, dissatisfied or demotivated or bored very quickly. Suppose if you are doing a work, after 1 month they will say, "Nahi, this I have been doing for 1 month. I want to do something different." So they get to be uh, dissatisfied or demotivated very easily. Second one is that the today's generation want everything quickly. I mean, I would share my own experience with you. If I go to a campus for say internship or final placement selection, one of the question which comes that, sir, what is the CTC? When is the next increment which happens in the organization? How much bonus we will get? So the current generation is more inclined towards the material benefits rather than contributing to the organization and keeping aside the financial benefit part. So that has to be kept in mind. And if you really want to succeed and really want to do well in an organization, you will have to focus on your own contribution. And you should not, there is nothing comes as a matter of right. I mean, you will have to earn that. So the today's generation, and another very simple thing, but very pertinent, what I have seen personally, that one of the area where the current generation needs to really work is on the written communication, which is the business communication. I mean, today, even in office, you will see the language which is written in WhatsApp message and all that, because the business communication is very different from informal communication. So that is one thing where the current generation actually need to focus a little bit more. I mean, that is my. I just wanted to share with my from my own experience. I may be wrong. People may not agree with that, but this is what has been my experience with the current generation.
Thank you, sir. So there is also another interesting question, and the last one.
Right.
She has asked if the supervisor and subordinate both matches together with the same competency and skill, what will be the situation?
See, there could be two situations. If the supervisor and the say basically the manager and the employee, if their skill sets match, then probably both of them will align together well and contribute to the organization. The other part is that the employee is likely to be a little demotivated because he or she has nothing to learn from his manager. So that is a negative side of it, because if I know that me and my boss both have the same skill set, we have the same capability, but I have to work under him even though I have the same capability. So that might lead to demotivation within myself, and I'll have to find out whether I want to change my department, I want to move from one organization to another organization. I mean, there are different ways of handling it, but it could be possible.
Sir, thank you so much. It was really a tremendous discussion. And with this deliberation, if the student will not learn, then they are really unfortunate, I can say.
Absolutely. I mean,
Because
it
so
is
valuable talks you gave today and so lucid way you could explain just the entire gamut of leadership. At least they should get benefit out of it. They should
absolutely.
realize they should practically apply into their life. Then only
See,
they can change their lifestyle.
absolutely, absolutely. See, one last point I want to just mention that see, the life is a journey which goes on. I mean, let's say if we take the example, say when we all were in the nursery or junior KG or preschool, when a child is in nursery, preschool, he or she always thinks that how should I grow quickly and I go to high school so that I will enjoy like my brother, elder brother or sister. When they go to high school, they will always think that "Nee, my nursery was better than this." So I mean, the high school is very challenging. So I want to go back to my childhood, or I want to go to college, because college there are a lot of freedom, lot of flexibility. So I want to enjoy life in college. So when you go to college, there are a lot of pressure, assignments, say multiple things you'll have to do. Then you will always think that no, my school days were better than college. So how quickly I should finish my education, and I will enjoy my life when I start my career. But when you start your career, that enjoyment never comes, because you'll have to work very hard to earn your living. And that point in time, you'll think that no, my college days were better. Now, so the life goes on. It is the challenges of life is never ending. One has to really enjoy the current situation. One has to face the situation very, very effectively, and one should know how to enjoy the how to balance the personal and professional life together. We always talk about work-life balance. There is nothing like work-life balance. You should know how to balance your life when you are at work, and you should know how to balance your work when you are at home. So both are, I mean, aligned with each other. So there is nothing like work-life balance. I'm sorry I took your time.
Sir, thank you so much. And really, we are indebted to you.
Thank you
And we are
so much.
obliged to you because at least you could spare your valuable times.
My
I know
pleasure
I
always.
disturbed you a lot in the many times I called you.
Not a problem.
So I
Not a
was
problem.
really pleading to share this kind of talk to the students. At
Okay.
least the students should learn from all these things. What you say?
Absolutely. Anytime. I think
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
we
much.
all we all
Yeah.
hope that the normalcy come back earlier so that we can meet in your college. Thank you
Sir,
so much.
I always expect that also. That I intend to tell you.
Sure.
When there
Thank
will
you
be
so much.
normalcy, at least once you come back and you can share the students directly. That will be
Absolutely.
really great.
Absolutely. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And I thank all the students for sparing their time and great interacting, good questions. And I wish all of you a very happy uh, 2 years MBA and be safe and enjoy your days. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank,
so much. Sir. Thank you so much. Sir. Thank
thank,
you so much.
thank.
Students, see, it was really beautiful discussions. Do you agree to me or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See,
Yes, sir.
that's what I
Yes,
told
sir.
you for your orientation schedule. Very tactfully, I have selected all these guests. Very tactfully. And all these guests are selectively